Are stem cells controversial? Are they the absolute cutting edge of modern biology? Or are they just simply misunderstood? Well, welcome to this explainer. Stem cells are arguably one of the most talked about topics in modern medicine today. But ironically, they're also one of the areas where the general public holds the absolute most misconceptions. So today, we're cutting through all that noise and looking straight at the biological facts. I am so thrilled you're joining us for this deep dive into stem cells and exosomes. We are going to explore the incredibly fascinating world of cellular communication, breaking down exactly what these cells actually are, how they function inside your body, and the microscopic messengers they use to communicate. Understanding this stuff matters right now because researchers are increasingly realizing that cellular health and repairs is the absolute key to how our bodies maintain themselves, and it just might be the key to reversing chronic disease. So we're getting past the hype today and focusing purely on the science of how your body supports itself. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. The stem cell misconception. 2. How stem cells actually work. 3. Exosomes, the cellular messengers. And 4. The reality of regenerative therapy. Section 1. The stem cell misconception. So before we can even talk about the advanced therapies you hear about on the news, we have to understand the fundamental biology of what a stem cell actually is. What makes it so entirely unique compared to literally every other cell in your body? Well, they have the innate ability to do two very specific things. First, they can replicate themselves, and second, they can differentiate. Now, differentiation is just a fancy biological term meaning they can transform into other types of specialized cells, things like cartilage, bone, nerve, or even muscle cells. Because they hold these two dual abilities, they're absolutely central to your body's natural processes. Anytime you experience growth or require repair and recovery, you better believe stem cells are working behind the scenes. And the great news is we all have them. They aren't just some sci-fi concept created in a lab. They live naturally inside your body right now. You can find them in your bone marrow, in your fat tissue, and even housed within various organs. But there is an unfortunate biological reality that we all have to face. As we age, both the sheer number of these stem cells and their overall vitality decline. Our body's natural repair kit essentially shrinks and gets a bit more tired as the years go by. In fact, by the time you're a teenager, your stem cell count has already dropped significantly from when you were born. Crazy, right? Section 2. How stem cells actually work. All right, so in the world of regenerative medicine, scientists and clinicians often focus on a specific type of cell called mesenchymal stem cells, or MSCs for short. These are typically derived from perinatal tissue, like the umbilical cord matrix. Now, the common myth, and this is what a lot of people get wrong, is that if you introduce these to a damaged area, they'll immediately act as literal building blocks. Like, they'll just replace old tissue and structurally grow new tissue right then and there. But the reality is actually quite different. In the context of supportive therapies, MSCs act through cell-to-cell signaling. They serve as a supportive framework. They release signaling molecules like growth factors and cytokines. These signals help create a much more balanced environment within the body, supporting inflammation control and tissue communication. This brilliantly illustrates the paradigm shift we need to make. That aren't the bricks being laid to build a new wall, they are the foremen on the construction site, handing out blueprints and instructions to your body's own existing cells. Let's move to Section 3. Exosomes, the cellular messengers. So, building on that analogy, if stem cells are the foremen shouting instructions across the construction site, exosomes are the actual written blueprints being handed out. So, what exactly is an exosome? Well, they're tiny, nano-sized vesicles released by cells, including those mesenchymal stem cells we just talked about. I want to be super clear here. Exosomes are not cells themselves. They absolutely do not contain DNA, and they cannot reproduce. Instead, think of them purely as molecular messengers. They act as this incredibly sophisticated communication system between your cells, carrying vital information from one place to another. Let's take a peek at the biological payload these messengers are actually carrying. Inside these tiny vesicles are powerful biological signals, RNA, microRNA, proteins, and enzymes. When these exosomes travel to other cells, this payload can heavily influence how those receiving cells behave. Rather than forcing a specific aggressive result, they gently help the body regulate its own internal responses. And since cellular health and repair is at the absolute core of how the human body maintains itself, and potentially the key to reversing chronic disease, this is a massive, massive area of focus for researchers. In regenerative settings, exosome-rich products are being studied for their potential to support skin health, brain wellness, and musculoskeletal recovery. But remember our golden rule here. They aren't regenerating that tissue directly. They're simply supporting the communication pathways that allow your body to do the hard work. Section 4. The reality of regenerative therapy. Now, it is incredibly easy to get swept up in the fascinating science of stem cells and exosomes. It's exciting stuff. But we need to ground this explainer in regulatory reality. The crucial point is this. Neither stem cell-based therapies nor exosomes are FDA approved to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. This is a vital distinction you have to understand. While the science of cellular communication is rapidly advancing and incredibly promising, these biologics are currently utilized to play a supportive role in overall wellness strategies. They are not acting as a medical cure for a specific ailment. Because these are biological products rather than standard pharmaceuticals, safety and quality are absolutely paramount. The effectiveness and the safety of any stem cell or exosome product depend entirely on three things: how they're sourced, how they're processed in a laboratory, and how they're ultimately administered to the patient. It is absolutely critical that any supportive therapy utilizing these biological tools is done in a strictly compliant, high-quality clinical setting. You really can't cut corners here. Which leaves us with a highly practical and super important question. If you are exploring these therapies as a wellness strategy and you know they lack standard FDA disease approvals, how do you protect yourself? How do you spot the red flags at a regenerative medicine clinic to ensure you're getting safe, ethically sourced, and properly processed biological support? Honestly, that is the most critical question you can ask, and it requires knowing exactly what to look for and what to run away from. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this has completely transformed how you view the microscopic communication network operating inside you right now.